if you're in your local comment section on Facebook, or if you're at your relative's house, your MAGA relative's house, or whatever the case may be, and you hear them celebrating that SNAP is not going to be refilled, so to speak, in November due to the federal shutdown, and you hear them saying something to the effect of, well, they just have to cancel their nail and hair appointments and not have the most modern car or the most expensive car or whatever. I mean, you're going to hear those a lot if you haven't already. Please remind them that they are falling for a propaganda lie that's about 40 years old or more. It was perpetuated during Ronald Reagan. This cartoon was published in 1994. It's an editorial cartoon, and you see it's depicting a welfare queen, a black woman, and she's saying, with Democrats in power. And then you have the Democrat donkey behind her. Yes, you can, holding a bag of money. And then she's buying a Cadillac. I'll take two. I promise you that nobody who is using government assistance is able to buy two cars. They are lucky if they have one. But this lie was perpetuated during the Reagan administration. So let's dive into a little history about this myth that we are still seeing today in 2025 in comment sections and at MAGA family gatherings. The welfare queen stereotype did not appear out of nowhere. It was built piece by politicians and the media who needed someone to blame for poverty and government spending. In the 1970s and 80s, Ronald Reagan used one isolated story, look up Linda Taylor, about welfare fraud as a campaign talking point. He painted this picture of a black woman living lavishly off taxpayer money, driving a Cadillac, using multiple names, and collecting checks from the government. He used that one story to represent all poor black women. And it worked. The lie spread fast and reshaped how people saw poverty. Suddenly, black mothers were no longer viewed as caretakers or survivors, but as lazy, manipulative, and undeserving. Politicians used that stereotype to justify cutting benefits, criminalizing poverty, and dismantling social safety nets that millions of families, most of them white, depended on. Here is the truth. Around 60 to 70% of welfare recipients are white, but when people hear welfare, they still picture a black woman. This is not an accident. That is by design. And let's be real. Who do you know that can be a queen on $550 a month? Nobody is getting rich off welfare. People are trying to survive, but calling black women welfare queens made it easier for America to dehumanize poverty and justify cruelty. You know who the real welfare queens are? People like Elon Musk. He is not a genius and he is not self-made. He just knows how to finesse the system and collect taxpayer money through subsidies, bailouts, and government contracts. Billions of dollars in public funds go straight into his pocket, and people call it innovation. He has benefited from more government welfare than entire communities combined, yet somehow the story says that black women and impoverished families are the ones draining the system. It is one of the clearest examples of how white supremacy rewrites the story to protect itself. It shifts attention away from the systems that create inequality and instead blames black women for trying to survive within them. It tells white America, you are hardworking, you are the problem. The post is really long. It's very important and informative. I would recommend going and following that author. But I would say that I can relate to what she's saying on the other side of it. Because when I was in college in 2012 and I had a baby at home and a baby on the way, and I was working on my degree and I was using food stamps. My husband had a job that wasn't making much over minimum wage at the time. And we heard from so many people that it was okay for us to be using food stamps because we were different, that we were the exception. What made us the exception? That was never a question that could be answered. And at the time, being young and in college and not really as knowledgeable about systemic racism as I am today, I knew that they were making an exception for me. And I knew that maybe it was because they knew me personally, so it kind of humanized me. But that is the reason. And the people that said that probably weren't realizing that they were participating in this racist stereotype. because a lot of times it's unconscious. It's unconscious. But that is what I was told, was that it was okay for me to use food stamps because I was using it in an attempt to better myself, that I was different. But I wasn't different. And so now when you hear people saying that, oh, well, I guess they're going to have to, you're still going to hear it in 2025. Oh, I guess they're going to have to get a job now. Oh, I guess they won't have to get their hair and nails done. Oh, I guess they'll have to downgrade their cars. And of course, now cell phones get brought into it. Oh, I guess they don't, even though like cell phone plans are relatively inexpensive and often useful for work, finding a job, keeping a job, replying to your employer, replying to emails, work emails. I mean, we live in a world where cell phones are a necessity, ultimately. That's just how our society is currently set up. But they're still going to say that. They're repeating this to show them this image and say, you're repeating a lie that's from 1978 or the 1990s, because that's when this was written, but it was before then. So just to start that conversation, try it at Thanksgiving. I don't know. But this stereotype has got to die because it's nonsense. It's racist and it's nonsense. So tell your people.